gotta look back at this.
How does he maintain possession?
Jenkins, and that definitely was a little helmet-to-helmet on that hit.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
NFL Week 5 is here, guys. I'll be looking at 3 big games like usual, provide my favorite teaser and underdog options for the week as well. This week we will look at Texans and Bills, Jags and Colts, and then the Monday Nighter, like always. We always talk the Monday Nighter. This week it is the Saints and the Chiefs. We got bye weeks for the first time, so keep that in mind. Less games on the docket. SystemSportsCapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for client opportunities, resume, records, comments over the years, and more. Took a few weeks to have a nice week, but we had a nice one last week, just about almost 4 units. Voided the big upsets this past week, Broncos over Jets, just to name one of them. Not as many upsets as previous weeks. We were able to attack the player prop market very successfully. Most proud about hitting the Atlanta money line. I did notice, and I do have spreadsheets over the years from teams that win close games, and Atlanta's right up there, right at the top, winning a lot of games by 1 or 2 points. Spread was 2.5, so we did play a full unit on the money line there. So happy about that win there. We're also on the Cousins over 212 passing yards. That also hit for us. Mistake by the books putting Cousins this low. We also hit on a couple other nice props. We hit on Aaron Jones over rushing, Lamb over in receiving. Played Dallas and Cincy together at plus money on a money line parlay. Cashed on the teaser for clients as well. San Francisco KC Browns plus 5.5 there. Only one miss, and the unfortunate miss there was the Browns, right? Like, they had so many opportunities. They played great at the beginning of the game, up 10-0. I thought they were going to cruise to win, right? That they were playing a bunch of backups, right? Your best 2 players are out. You technically got a backup quarterback. A lot of backups in there. A lot of injuries for the Raiders. I'm not in love with this Browns team, but it was a spot. It was a spot play. And they had multiple times chances to win that game. They were driving in the red zone at the end of the game. It's just that offense. It's frustrating to watch at times. So that was like they covered the teaser plus 5.5, but I did have a half unit on them to win. Also, they were the underdog play of the week. So they had multiple shots to win that game, guys. I watched some of it, surprisingly, especially at the end of the game when it was close and Raiders made that comeback. Just frustrating team to watch right now. Watson, probably the worst contract ever for a QB, right? Give me a better one. There probably are, but just off the top of my head, it's right up there. It's right up there. He's just not looking good. Good news for Browns. Chubb is back at practice. Not sure when he's going to be playing, but he is back for them. Good week. We will continue these winning ways. Power rankings first. Let's get into that before I get into some of these breakdowns. Key adjustments. I'm going to talk power rankings, something new I added to the podcast. I do release my top 5 power rankings every week on Instagram, so look out for that. Key adjustments, key teams moving up in my power rankings. Definitely the Ravens, right? Moved up for me back into the top 5, where I had them to start the year, right? Tough start. A lot of teams start slow. We see the Ravens finding their identity with the run, and they just demolished the Bills. A lot of people had the Bills as number 1 or 2 going into week 4, right? Colts move up a bit as well for me. Back-to-back wins. However, the Richardson injury, something to watch. Also, Taylor got hurt, so watch that there. But Colts have moved up. Broncos moved up as well on my power. They were, bottom 3 coming into this year. Their defense is good enough to get out of that bottom 3, in my opinion. And they've won back-to-back games, and they just beat the Jets in a weird one there. That was AFC. NFC, Washington, right? Big move for me for Washington, moving to 3-1. No one had Washington looking this good. No one had Jalen Daniels looking this good to start the year. So hats off to them. Obviously, Minnesota continue to climb too. You know, they're right up there for me right now. Obviously, they're undefeated and continue to look good. That defense looks good. Darnold's fitting well in that system. Very impressive with Minnesota. Lions move up slightly as well. Nice win against Seattle. Seattle's a good team. Nice win there after some, the tough game against the Bucks. That was a tough one, but then they won against the Eagles, and then also, Lions moved up slightly, and also two other teams that moved up prior to Thursday's game. Bucks didn't move up for me because they had that win over the Eagles. But that Thursday game, so I'm not going to move the Bucks much here. Teams moving down AFC, Miami big time, right? Miami's moving big time down. Another loss, ton of injuries, that's why, right? And some of these teams moving down is because of injuries. Keep that in mind, okay? Bills and Jets both have moved down. Again, Bills, the soft schedule, right? Jets also seems like they're having struggle closing out games, so they have moved down. Steelers slightly as well, and then Cleveland Browns big time have moved down. Chargers for me as well due to their injuries. Injuries are piling up over there. They have moved down. Eagles as well. Packers, Saints, and Arizona all have been adjusted. Current top 5, guys. Current top 5. We got to keep the Chiefs up there, right? Someone beat them to move them out of this top spot. Then we got to go to Vikings. Vikings obviously undefeated, but looking incredible, especially on defense. Lions. I have Lions right up there. I had Lions top 5 at the beginning of the year right there. Move Ravens right in there as well. They're looking great now. They found their identity. This is a team we expected going into the season. And, 5th, you could argue. I still have 49ers because I do think they're really good. The couple losses they had in a row there were due to injuries, right? They came back, put a fairly good pounding on the Pats last week, which was expected. But I think if they're healthy, they're easily a top 5 team. Now, you can put in there, you can put the Texans in there, but they haven't played great football as of yet, guys. Keep that in mind. You could put the Steelers in there, but I'm not sold on that offense. Bills, you guess you can keep around there. But again, I have Bills outside of the top 5 due to their schedule and then how they look when they actually played a top 5 team. Keep that in mind. You could sneak in Washington, Seattle. There are some teams that you can sneak in there, even Green Bay. But I have 49ers as an overall team, not through the injuries. They're getting healthier. So 49ers gets my 5th spot. But I get it. You can argue that 5th spot. Let's hear from my friend Kristen before we get into this card and breakdowns.
For you sports bettors out there, let's be honest, you probably need a little bit of help beating those books. System Capping is a proven long-term winner against the sports betting market in multiple sports. He's built a worldwide clientele due to his high winning percentage over the years. Be sure to click the link on the bio down here to check out his profile, and you can also find out his resume, client comments, podcasts, and subscription opportunities. I'm going to be following him along too, so let's win some money together this season.
Let's get right into it, guys. Let's get right into it. Shop around. Books vary from shop to shop, right? Right now, this is a clear example of this game here. Jags, first one we're going to talk about, minus 2.5 versus Colts. Total 45.5. There's some books out there, Jags minus 3. There's some books out there, Jags minus 2.5. Right? If you like the Jags, you're going to bet the Jags obviously at the minus 2.5. If you like the Colts, you're going to want to take the 3, right? So have options, guys. I can't stress that enough. Very important when you're betting on sports and trying to make it an investment and profitable. The Jags are 0-4, guys. Not really something I can predict. I did expect them not to have a great year, but they easily could be 2-2. Let's look at the games a little further. I know they're struggling with closing out games. Lawrence is not playing good. A great coaching staff is questionable with some play calls. I'm not saying this team is a good football team. Well, let's make that straight, right? but they could easily be 2-2. You could even say they could be 3-1. That could be maybe pushing it a bit, but let's look at their losses. Like last week against Houston, should have won that game against Houston on the road, right? Houston had a spectacular drive, two-minute drive by Stroud, and Jags weren't able to close it in the fourth. They had opportunities to close it, couldn't get that first down, and obviously a nice home win for Houston, their division game, right? Then you look at that week 1 Miami game. They looked great to start the game and then just fell apart. And then the Cleveland game as well, a game they could have won. It was like 18-13. And obviously the Bills game was just a no-show from them. But I'm not going to sit here and say, this is the worst team in the NFL or anything like that, because some of the games were very close and they have a lot of talent. I think they're fairly well coached as well for the most part. Maybe I don't think they have the right play caller in there right now, but they have a lot of talent, guys. They have one of the best young wide receivers in the NFL, and Brian Thompson. I think he's really good. They got weapons, good run game, right? That's have been their highlight so far, the run game, which we'll talk about here shortly. But I don't think they're as bad as this record says, right? At 0-4. Colts, 2-2, lost Richardson last week. I do believe he's going to play. It looks like he's been limited this week. Watch the practice status here on Friday to confirm. But in comes the hero Flacco, right? When you have Flacco, it doesn't matter if your quarterback gets injured, it looks like, right? Now, it's hard to game plan from Richardson to Flacco, so I get it if you're coming in midweek. But if you have all week to kind of practice for him, I do believe, you'll be able to play him a little better, right? But what a story Flacco is. Just continues to come into games, and he looks poised, looks good, right? I think he had 2 TDs in that game. Found Downs. Josh Downs looked good. He's a good wide receiver, and Flacco noticed that. So Richardson is questionable for this game. I do expect him to play, but watch what happens there. He actually did look fairly decent early in that game against a good Steelers defense. Back-to-back wins over 2 good defenses for the Colts, right? Which is worth mentioning here. Steelers and the Bears, both good defenses. However, both teams can't score, right? They're bad offenses, but we'll talk shortly about how Fields looked on him, right? Poor defenses, like I mentioned, the numbers. Listen to these numbers, guys. Indy, 32nd in yards allowed, 31st rushing yards allowed, 164 a game, right? Pick your way how you want to score on this team. You're not going to struggle to score on this team. Like I just mentioned, Justin Fields threw for over 300 yards on this secondary, guys. Justin Fields. Yes. Right, so this Colts defense is a mess. And that's why I think Lawrence could have a good game here. This offense could have a good game here any way they kind of want to do it. I expect them to try to establish a run again. I do think this Colts rush D is terrible. We see teams run all over them. I do think the Jags should establish a run early, kind of slow this game down. Right? Now, Jags on defense are much better, right? 30th in passing yards allowed. They are better against the run, though, at 10th. And I think that could be the difference here. If Taylor does play, Taylor is banged up. Ankle injury, ankle sprain. Not sure if he'll play. If he does, he's not going to be 100%. I think that could be the factor here, right? If you can't really run on the Jags and you're going to make Richardson throw the ball a ton or even Flacco throw the ball a ton, that's not a good thing. So that's where I think Jags have the opportunity to win this game, right? With their rush D and also attack this bad secondary and bad defense in general in the Colts, right? Some injuries to note in this one. This is a game you really want to watch the injury report before betting. I might bet this game. I haven't yet for clients, but I'm watching the injury report here because there's a ton, right? The Richardson and Taylor's huge. So watch that from the Colts side. Jags are banged up too as well, though. Their best pass rusher, Allen, he had a concussion last week. Watch for that. Few linebackers are banged up. They're more banged up on defense, the Jags. Their offense looks pretty healthy. I think Ingram's still out. But their offense looks pretty healthy. Their defense is the issue there. If the Jags can run the ball, then I do believe they can win this game. Right? Mid-pack, around 12th, 13th in the NFL. That's how they could win this game, in my opinion, at home and avoid an 0-5 start. All right? Jags have won the last 2 meetings between these two as well. Colts, best two players, maybe out of this game. If they're not, they're banged up. Keep that in mind. Jags at home 0-4. You expect their best effort possible, right? You expect that. Coaches, maybe job on the line. You never know. People's jobs on the line. Keep that in mind. Now, Jags 2-8 ATS against the spread in their last 10 games, worth mentioning here. So if you want to back them in a good spot here, maybe the money line, maybe in the teaser market would be a little more appropriate. So I'm going to lean the Jags here at home to find a way to win this game. Not high on the reason why, I'll tell you guys quickly. I have a Houston best bet pending to win the division. And the reason why I'm not high on any of these teams, right? The Jags, I wasn't high on. The Titans, obviously. And then the Colts probably was my biggest scare if Richardson really took that step forward. But it looks like he might not. He's getting hurt a lot. So I'm really liking sitting with that Houston best bet pending at plus 105 to win that division. Bills -1 at Texans. Total 47.5. Oh, one last thing about the Jags-Colts game. What's the total on that? Total on that game, 45.5. Yeah, I could see that getting over, guys, because their defenses. Right, I could see that getting over at 45.5. Bills -1 at Texans. Total 47. Another game we could see points. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets that over that total. Texans were favored to open. They were favored, I believe. I think it just flip-flopped. Money came in on the Bills. The Bills are coming to Houston to another tough road game, right? Back-to-back tough road games for the Bills here. The schedule is not friendly to them here after a softball schedule. And that's why, some people thought they maybe were a little better than they are, right? Because of that softball schedule they had, right? Are they still shell-shocked from that Ravens beating? Ravens put a pounding on them, right? Henry ran all over them for 199 yards, 271 total on the ground. The Bills have been terrible versus the run, just absolutely terrible. 30th in yards allowed, 32nd in rushing attempts per attempt. Obviously, Henry ruined that a little bit with that 87-yard touchdown. So keep that in mind. Problem is, for the Texans, Mixon is still hurt, it looks like. I don't think he's playing, so they really don't have a rush game, right? Texans don't have a rush game. So that's something worth mentioning here. You want to beat the Bills on the ground, but can the Texans beat them on the ground? That's the big question here, right? Texans also, guys, they haven't been playing their best football yet. They're 3-1, right? Haven't been good against the run. Cook could have a nice game here if they use him, all right? Houston 26 in rushing yards per attempt. So I think Cook could have a good game here, but they're not using him enough. Back-to-back 9 carry games. Use him more. I know they like to throw a little bit to him out of the backfield, but rush him. Rush him 15 times. Allen rushed the ball as well. Mix in your backup. Established a run on the road. That's what you want to do here to win this game, in my opinion. I do think it's a bit of a flip of a coin type of game from a side standpoint. So I'm going to stay away from a side here, but I'll lean the over 47.5 here. Both offenses, could easily have big games. And then, obviously if Bills are able to establish the run here, I think they should be able to put up at least 20 points, and you expect Houston to be in the 20s as well. Maybe one of these teams sneak into the 30s. But yeah, I'll lean that over here. Tough to call a winner on a side here. Close game, though, you expect, right? You expect a close game. A couple other things to mention here. Head-to-head, nothing worth mentioning. Sorry. Last meeting was in 2021. Don't forget the Diggs return against the old team. He's going to be wanting the ball. So you may want to look at the prop market there for him. Monday Nighter, guys. Saints at Chiefs. Chiefs -5.5, total 43.5. Chiefs just continue to get bad news. I don't like the Chiefs. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. But most people aren't if you're not a fan of the Chiefs. You don't want to continue to see them win, and be at the top of the power rankings every year. But now things are starting not to go their way, guys, right? Hollywood Brown first, beginning of the year. Out. I don't know when he's coming back. He could be out for the year. I'm not too sure. Pacheco could be out for the year at running back. Huge loss there. And another wide receiver one in Rashid Rice. Yet they're still minus 5.5 favorites in this one. Saints are banged up as well. Olave and Kamara looks like they will play, but they're not 100%, but they will play. The O-line and D's banged up in the Saints. So keep that in mind. You want to watch the injury report here for the Saints. An extra day of rest could help some of these guys. Saints are coming off that tough loss to the Falcons. They could have won that game. I thought Atlanta would have a little more an easy time in that game. We were on Atlanta, like I mentioned, on the money line, but Saints played pretty well in that game, and Kamara continues to have a resurgence. Kamara didn't have a great year last year. I know he was hurt, a little banged up, but he's continuing to run the ball well there for the Saints. I expect the Saints to come back. I expected the Saints to come back down to earth after that wild start that they had, and they have. Right? They lost back-to-back games now. So I didn't overreact with the Saints. I bet against them last week. Here, I do think it's not a terrible spot for them to hang around and cover. I just hate backing and always relying on Derek Carr if I'm putting a bet on the New York Saints, right? He's just so inconsistent. He's so inconsistent in his career. It looks good the first 2 weeks, and then now look at these last 2 weeks, right? Very inconsistent. I have a hard time always backing a Derek Carr-led team. We know Mahomes will figure it out. Whoever he has at target, right? he'll figure it out. Just like in the run game, they're figuring out with bringing Kareem Hunt back. Kelsey obviously will get more targets. I attacked him in the market last week at 46.5. It got way over that number. Expect Kelsey to be another big part this week. He has to be. He kind of has no choice, right? There's going to be limited targets to go around, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints cover him in this one. The key matchup to watch here, though, guys, is the Saints rushing. Obviously, Kamara, great game. Tyson Hill, if he's back. They got some guys there to feed. And against the Chiefs rush D. Both have been their best stats on the year on both sides of the ball. So that's going to be the matchup here. Winner of this matchup, I believe, will win this game. I expect Mahomes, to probably find a way to win this game in prime time. Refs will be on their side, of course. Minus 5.5 is a lot. So, I would lean the Saints plus 5.5 to hang around here. Just watch the injuries here for Saints. If they're piling up, maybe, hold off here, but plus 5.5 would be the only way I could look if I were to bet this game. Teaser options, guys. Teaser options for the week. Winner last week for clients. I do believe we missed out on the free play teaser last week. Profitable for teasers on the year. This week, my two favorite 7-point teasers, like always, guys. Ravens plus 4.5 and Packers plus 4. I like getting the plus there, right? Both teams should win. Both teams should win their games in my eyes. They are road games, so you never know. Ravens coming off 2 big back-to-back wins. Could there be a letdown spot? Bengals desperate for a win? Possibly, but we know Lamar Jackson's record versus Cincy. And the way they're running the ball, and that Bengals defense looks terrible, guys. So, yeah, if Bengals do win this game, obviously it's possible. It's probably by, a field goal or maybe even less. So keep that in mind here. Underdogs, lots of options this week. Turns out to be like most weeks, there's underdog options, right? Broncos, a big one last week. Not a lot last week, but Broncos were the key one there last week. We were on the Browns. I talked about Browns earlier. They could have won the game. Unbelievable how bad the offensive played against a bunch of backups. This week, I think there's a lot of options, right? You got the Jets in London. You got the Bengals, Browns, Dallas, Saints. I do think there's a handful of options here. We're going to take a shot here on the Jets. Traveling over to London. Rodgers have done it before. I think he'll have the team ready there after a tough loss. And Vikings need to lose a game eventually here, right? So I think the Jets defense could give Sam Darnold some fits. They know him well. Obviously, Sam Darnold played there before. So, yeah, we're going to take a little shot here on the Jets. That will do it, guys. That will do it. NFL Week 5. The season's going to fly by. We know it. It always flies by, right? Enjoy NFL Week 5. We got a fun, busy week with UFC, also 307. If you haven't watched or listened to the podcast yet, it is available now. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy NFL Week 5.